and how to attain it. So let us begin Perek Lamed Gimel and Tanya. So you're going to have a two for today, 2 for 1. You're going to have a shir in Simcha and the shir in today's Tanya. Perek Lamed Gimel. The Alter Rebbe was earlier speaking about in Tanya about different things for a person to be able to overcome his either natural tendency to be sad, or if he's sad because of a situation, or bitter or upset about a situation in the service of Hashem, or he's upset about how his body and his nefesh habahamis keeps him away from godliness. So, from especially from that perspective, the more we realize how close we are to Hashem, and how Hashem is close to us, the more or less reason there is for a person to feel that way. And actually, these are things that will encourage him to be besimcha. So the Alter Rebbe is going to speak along that entire theme, primarily in this Perek Lamed Gimel and Tanya. To be able to arrive at that point, he's going to review some other points that he's been talking about before, about Hashem's presence in this world, how he fills this world, how he's in every aspect of this world. There's nowhere that we are distant from him. Since there's nowhere that we are distant from him, so therefore our joy should be overwhelming by the fact that we're always with him. In additional to what we spoke about earlier about different explanations and reasons for a person being besimcha, will be the true joy of the soul. Again, this is something that we've mentioned on different occasions, the Alter Rebbe and Tanya, and Chassidus in general, but in Tanya often he emphasizes truth. He's looking to find how to do something truthfully, not just to act that way, but really to bring through Chabad, through meditation, through understanding that the person is truly so. When we do not have Chassidus Chabad, Chassidus Chagas, it's about the external manifestation. We act in a certain way, and there is a certain truth to that, as the expression goes, fake it till you make it. But Chabad demands, as well as acting in a way of simcha, or acting in other ways that are positive and good, we should also recognize the true reasons for what we are doing, including being besimcha. That's why it's called Chassidus Chabad, because we are using our intellect and our mind to be able to attain that joy. And then the Alter Rebbe adds that this is especially true because there are certain times when we feel that we need that extra push. This is especially when he sees about himself. In certain times, that the person needs to purify it and illuminate it with the joy of the heart. In other words, there are certain times, earlier, the Alter Rebbe explained in Tanya that the person could sometimes, because of his lack of joy, so that could cause like a blockage in the heart, not allow for the heart to be able to experience a closeness of Hashem, and a love of Hashem, and so on. And therefore, one needs to have joy of the heart. So therefore, this joy is crucial to his service of Hashem, which Tanya is all about, how to serve Hashem. Zai, what should a person do to be able to attain that joy? So he says, Yamik Machshavta, he should think in depth with his thought, and he should picture in his intellect and his understanding the true idea of Hashem's oneness and unity. So the Alter Rebbe is going to review and explain the idea of oneness and unity the way it's truly so. Again, that emphasis on truth. The true oneness of Hashem is not that he's the only being like him, like the only God-like being. But the true oneness and unity means that there's nothing other than him, and there's nowhere that is outside of him. How he fills all the worlds, higher, the higher worlds and the lower worlds, even filling this entire earth. is his glory. B'kula kamei klach shviv mamish, and all before him are considered as if they are not there, meaning that the Hashem imbues and is embedded in everything, and we are not taking up any space, if you will, and taking away from his presence here. Just because we exist, our existence does not in any way disturb or take away from his being here. And he is alone, meaning there's no other true existence in the higher worlds, in the lower worlds, mamish, totally so. Just like Hashem was the only being before the 6 days of creation. Also in this place where this world was created, the heavens and the earth, and everything within them. Hashem himself was the one that filled this place. So also now, he is the only thing there without any change whatsoever. How can that be? We see a myriad of existences and the world and everything in it. How do we say he's the only thing there? Because all creations are completely sublimated and bottled before him in their entire being and existence. Bottled b'metzias is different than being bottled bitlayesh. Bitlayesh means I exist, but I put myself aside for something great. So, for example, there is the king, and their subjects. The subjects of the king are bittul hayesh. They have bittul hayesh before the king. They put themselves aside. They put their wishes and desires and etc. aside for the sake of the king. That's not what bittul b'metzias mamish means. Bittul b'metzias means they actually are not of any existence whatsoever. And he's going to give an example. Like, for example, the letters of speech and the letters of thought, the way they are in their source and their root. Where did the letters of speech come from? They came from the letters the way they were in thought. Where did the letters of thought come from? So the truth is, any language that was used in speech and thought, they came from whatever fills the thought and the speech. There's the 10 levels of Chachma bin Adas, and also the 7 emotional attributes. All of these things are the core and the source and the root where the letters came from. Now, let's say if you go to an emotion, the emotion that the person expressed in speech, before the person thought about it in speech, that before they were enclosed in the garment of thought, the letters or language did not exist in a way that they are independent. In chapter 20 and 21 in Tanya, he spoke about this at great length, and he spoke about different levels about how the letters of speech are insignificant in comparison to the letters of thought, and the thought the way they're in the emotions the way they're in the intellect, etc., etc. In other words, what are we saying about this? We are saying that though the letters must have come from somewhere, though the language that I'm speaking must have come from somewhere, still in all, the somewhere that it came from, it was completely non-existent over there. When you can ask a person what language do they think in, if they are capable of speaking different languages, people usually have a certain language which is the language that their thoughts are in. But you can't ask someone, in what language do you love? That doesn't work. Or what language do you get angry at? It's because even though language is sourced in there, the letters, the way he used the term in Tanya, is sourced over there, but they're completely bottled b'metzias. The same thing, the entire world, the entire existence, Hashem is here, and we are like those letters that are within the world and everything in it and all the creatures and us are like those letters, the way they're still in our soul before they even appeared as language. That's one example of how we are completely bottled b'mitzias in Hashem's being here with us simultaneously. Like it says also in a different place, in explaining another example of bittul, mashal gashmi lazeh, a physical analogy for this, physical metaphor from this. Me'inyan bittul ziv v'oir hashemish from koidoi, from how the ray and the light of the sun is nullified within its source. What is the source of sunlight? Guf kadra shemesh sheberakia, the very body of the sphere of the sun that is in the heavens. So, what is this bittul about? Gam sham, also within the very body of the sun, within the very sphere of the sun. Meir umispashid vaday zivay va'oirei. Surely over there it shines and it expands his ray and his light. And not only does it expand over there, does it exist over there, does it shine over there, but it actually is there. With the way it's in the sun, it expands and it shines much more powerfully than in the air of the world outside of the sun, or in the space of the world outside of the sun. So what's the difference between the sunlight as it is outside of the sphere of the sun versus the sunlight that's within the body of the sun? Over there, in the sphere of the sun, in the body of the sun, the sunlight is completely nullified in its source, and it's as if it doesn't exist whatsoever. It doesn't mean it's not there. Using the term bittul b'metzias does not mean it does not exist. Just like the sunlight is not non-existent in the sun, it is there, but it's as if it has no existence whatsoever. It definitely does not disturb the sun, definitely does not limit the sun. Just say, I'm sorry, there's no room for the sun over here because we have sunlight. Not at all. Now, let's apply this analogy and metaphor concerning Hashem and us. So too, for example, so too is the nullification of the world and everything in it, everything that fills it completely by its entire being in comparison to its source. And what's his source? The infinite light of Hashem, like it's explained over there at length in chapter 20 and 21 earlier in time. So what's the point of it over here? Here we're trying to explain about the topic of Simcha. The Rebbe says, once we understand this and we really relate to it, when he thinks into this in depth a lot, one uses their Chabad and uses their power of imagination and is able to picture this and draw themselves a picture in their mind of this, Yismach liboy, his heart will be happy, v'togel nafshe, and his soul will rejoice. Av gilas v'ranin b'chol leiv v'nefesh u'ma'od, in a joy and a song with his entire heart, soul, and being. He's playing off the phrasing that we say in Krishma about b'chol avavcha, b'chol nafshe, b'chol b'indecha. In this faith, because it is very great, this faith that he believes and recognizes how Hashem is with him over here is a great faith, and this will bring him to great joy. Because this is an actual closeness of Hashem. This is what all of us desire, to be close to Hashem. And when a person thinks into it, they realize they are close to Hashem. Zek kol adam v'tachlis briyos, u'briyas kol brius kol brius, or brias kol oilmas, al yonim v'tachtoinim, one of the 10 psukim, one of the 12 psukim, This is the entire focus of a person and the purpose of his creation. And not only the purpose of his creation, but the creation of all the worlds, the upper worlds and the lower world, to make a home for the Eibishter down here below. Like we'll explain later on at length about this idea and the mission that we have to make a home for the Eibishter down here below. So the person recognizing Hashem's presence is a manifestation of that home for the Eibishter. We're like inviting Hashem in, we're experiencing Hashem in his dira, in his home. So now he gives a very simple example for us to be able to imagine this concept and this idea of the joy that arises from the fact that Hashem is with us. How great is the joy of an ordinary person, and even more so, the Alter Rebbe says, someone that is a very low person. He's not just your average citizen, but he's a low person. When he becomes close to a king of flesh and blood. Now, the Alter Rebbe uses a metaphor of something that we are familiar that was more common in that day and age. And to be around a king was like the greatest thing. But however you want, you could translate it in the different things that in our world people have, like a hero worship. Some people might want to be around powerful people in government. Some people might want to be in powerful people in sports or whatever, etc., etc. They have different heroes. Just you could replace in your own mind the hero, the Rebbe's presence of a Melech Basar Adam, however you want to replace it. But it's an exciting thing. It's something that a person would want to look forward to. The more ordinary he is, the lower he is, the more he is joyous when that king of flesh and blood, he decides to stay with him, or even more so, to live with him. These two expressions, is only someone that's a guest, but then Vidar Ita Imai is even more so that he's moving in with him. Therefore, if a person hosting a king, if an ordinary person or a low person has the opportunity to host the king and have the king move in with him, this would cause a great joy. So therefore, how much more so and greater it is to no end, no comparison even to a human king, to the closeness and the fact that the King of Kings Hashem lives here. Dira is from the word living. He has a home here. Like it says, who is one that has the courage to approach me, says the Eibishter. And despite the fact that no one should really, and no one has this type of courage to approach the Eibishter, still in all, Hashem comes down to live with us. And therefore, we should be in an unbelievable state of joy, thinking into how the Eibishter is with us wherever and whenever we are. And Alter Rebbe goes on to say, this is actually something that we give thanks for the Eibishter in davening. For this, the Chachamim established to give praises and thanks to his name B'chol Boiker, every morning in the Karbana section of davening, the Loimar to say, Ashreinu Matov Cholkeinu, how fortunate and how good is our portion, Mayofi Rishosenu, and how beautiful is our inheritance. What does this mean to say? And specifically, he's going to give and focus on the expression Yerushasenu, inherited. Just like a person rejoices and is very happy in an inheritance that fell for him and a great amount of wealth, that he did not toil in it whatsoever. So this causes the person great joy. And there's a discussion Shulchan Aruch about making a bracha of Shechiyanu or different types of brachas of praise when a person becomes aware of a Yerusha that he is now getting. Kain v'yosim kain la'en ketz, so too, and even more so to no end. Yesh lanu l'smoyach hayushasenu, we have to rejoice for our inheritance. V'nchilanu avosenu, that our forefathers gave to us. That, in other words, that we are able to appreciate this thanks to Avraham, Yitzchak, Yankov's devotion to Hashem. So we said in Perek Yitches and Yutes and Tanya, so therefore they gave us this type of connection to Hashem in a personal manner as an inheritance. What is that? Yichud Hashem Amiti, the true unity of Hashem. What is that true unity? And again, the truth over here is being emphasized. Even in the land below, like it says, there is nothing else except for Hashem. And this is his home down here below. That we are recognizing this and appreciating this and connecting with him down here below. This is what the Chazal said. Taryag mitzvahs nikli Yisrael. 630 mitzvahs were given to the Yidden. Ba Chavakuk, the Navi called Chavakuk came. Vehemidon al achas, and he set them and established them all on one mitzvah. And the Chazal go on to say, the Nemer, like it says, but tzaddik, and a tzaddik is someone that fulfills all the mitzvahs. Be'emunasa yichya, he lives by his faith. What is the Chazal trying to say by bringing this pasuk and saying that tzaddik b'emunasa yichya? This is like all the 630 mitzvahs as if one mitzvah. So the Alter Rebbe explains this Maimer Chazal. This means to say that it's as if ki'ilu eina rak mitzvah achas. It's as if all the 613 mitzvahs really boil down to one mitzvah. It's only the belief and faith in Hashem. What does that have to do? Why is all the mitzvahs about the emunah alone? Through the belief alone, that he has this belief that there's nothing in this world except for Hashem. It's all Hashem. He will come to fulfilling all the 613 mitzvahs. When his heart will rejoice and be happy with his belief, B'yichud Hashem, in the unity of Hashem. So then he will come to rejoice, B'tachlis HaSimcha, in a total joy. As if there would only be this mitzvah alone. That it alone, just the mitzvah of the belief on Hashem, realizing that Hashem is everywhere, Hashem is with me, that is the entire purpose of his creation. In the power and the life of his soul. In this great joy, his soul will arise higher and higher. For anything that prevents the fulfillment of the 630 mitzvahs, whether internally or externally. We can sometimes have internal obstacles from our nefesh habahamis that tries to get in the way of us fulfilling Torah mitzvahs. Then there's external obstacles, whether physical challenges, whether challenges in the world. There's all types of internal and external challenges. But the great joy that he has and the great vitality that he gets from the fact that he recognizes Hashem's presence in this world and being there with him, this gives him the capability and the energy to overcome any type of obstacle. Why does the pasuk say, a tzaddik in his belief or faith, he will live? A tzaddik by his belief will be devoted to Hashem, will fulfill the mitzvahs. Why the word yichya was chosen? So the Alter Rebbe says, Yichya Daika specifically, he will live. Kitchias Hamesh Sim Derech Mashal, like for example, the resurrection of the dead. Kach Tichya Nafshi, so too his soul will become enlivened and vitalized. Besimcha Rabazu, with this great joy. Now the Alter Rebbe adds another aspect and component of this joy. He says, "He simcha kfula umechapelos." Really, it's a doubled and quadrupled joy. Vad simchas hanefesh hamaskel b'kirvas Hashem v'derasi ito imay. In addition to what we spoke about earlier, that it's the thinking soul's rejoicing in the fact that Hashem is close to him and that Hashem moved in with him, Hashem is living with him. Additional to this, Yismach b'kiflayim, the person will rejoice doubly, b'simchas Hashem, in Hashem's happiness, in the fact he is happy that Hashem is happy. That Hashem has great delight and enjoyment and nachas when the person has this belief that he has in Hashem's oneness and unity, that we said that is the entire purpose of the creation. That's what Hashem desired in the creation. So when the person attains and focuses on this belief, so then Hashem rejoices in the person. So the person now in turn rejoices with Hashem's joy. What occurs when the person focuses on this belief in Hashem's presence? Then the sitra achar mamish becomes sublimated and subjugated, and the darkness becomes transformed to light. The darkness that we're referring to is the darkness of klippus, of this coarse material world of ours. They are darkening and covering his light ad es case till the time of the end. Like it says, that he placed an end to the darkness, meaning the time of the end of days, when as I'll soon explain in the brackets, then the darkness will cease, meaning the klippos which are dark will be overcome and transformed to light. So that Alter Rebbe goes on to explain in the brackets, what does this mean, the kates, the end? So there's a lashon in Daniel that says that calls it kates hayamin. The hainu kates hayamin is the end of days. What's it? Because it's in Aramaic, the word of kates hayamin, that is the idea of end of days. But he will remove the spirit of tumah from the land, and the glory of Hashem will become revealed. And all flesh will see together godliness, like will be explained later on. There's a little bit of a different version of the next few lines. I want to read it from the commentary section. You look towards the left-hand bottom corner of your page, the bold words, line 81. Ubefrat, this special joy that's caused for Hashem through the transformation of klippos is especially so bechutz la'aretz, when it's outside of Eretz Yisrael, she'avir Eretz ha'amim tomei, because the air and the atmosphere of the land of the nations are itself considered already impure, umole klippos sitra achra, and they are filled with klippos and sitra achra. So therefore, this is an even greater joy for Hashem when we are in chutz la'aretz, when we are in a place that is wholly impure. Even the air that we breathe is impure air, and we, despite that, we bring out to the fore godliness, and we are revealing godliness in the world by our belief and recognition of Hashem's presence So that causes Hashem joy. Back to the main text in the center of the page, line 21. The Ein Simcha lefanav yizbarach. There is no joy before Hashem. Ka'oira v'simcha, like the light and joy, playing off what it says we're going to have soon in the Megillah. So there's no greater simcha before Hashem like the light and joy specifically in the excess and additional light that comes out of the darkness. So of course there's joy where there is only light, but the transformation and additional and increase of light that comes through transforming the darkness into light, that is a cause for even greater joy. So now that the Alter Rebbe added this newer component of joy, not just that we are rejoicing in Hashem's presence because of our belief and appreciation how Hashem is with us in this world, and not only that, but Hashem also has a joy and is rejoicing because we have this belief and we are acting upon this belief. So that Alter Rebbe is going to bring this pasuk also from the 12 psukim that the Rebbe encouraged us to learn, where these psukim, it's indicated and emphasized this idea. This is what it says in the pasuk, Yismach Yisrael ba'osav, that the Jewish people, the Yidden, rejoice in their oisav, in their maker. Pirish, this means to call Mishu Mezara Yisrael, anyone that's from the offspring of Yidden. In other words, you don't have to be a great tzaddik, you don't have to be a great Talmud Chacham, etc., etc. Any and every single Jew, he can be happy with Hashem's happiness. And what is Hashem's happiness? Asher sas v'sameach, Hashem rejoices b'dirasei b'tachtoinim, in his home down here below, like we said before, when the klippus sitra achra becomes sublimated and transformed, and there's the Yisra Na'ir Abba Metech HaChoshech, Hashem's home is down here below through our belief and recognition that He's with us. So Hashem rejoices in that. So therefore, we are happy with His joy as well. The Tachtoinim are Bechinas Asiya Gashmias. They are a physical making of Hashem. They are something that He did physically. That's what it means. Yismach Yisrael ba'osav. What Hashem made the physicality of this world. Mamish, in actuality, that's the physicality of this world. That's why it says oisav. In the plural, it's not referring chas v'sholom to Hashem in plural. Hashem is singular. But why does it say oisav? It's the plurality is referring to the world, to olam hazav agash. This physical world, Hamolik Klippus Sitra Achra, that's filled with Klippus Sitra Achra. The Nikra, the Shusarabim, it's called a public domain, a domain of many, because in Klippus Sitra Achra, it makes it seem as if there are many different things. The Tura the Pruda, and the Zohar calls it mountains, that each one is a mountain showing an ego, and they are separated one from another. Instead of it being multiplicity, so instead the Yid through his avoida causes v'ishapchom l'nhoira, the Yid turns it over to light. V'nasim reshus hayachid, they become a private domain. The Yehuda Yisbarach, through his unity. How does it become a private domain for his unity? Be'emunazu, by the Yid's a belief in the Eibishter, that the Eibishter is here all over. And so we have a double reason for joy. And not only that, but the test, the litmus test of this belief. How do we know that, and how can we show and express that we truly believe what we've been learning in Chassidus all the time, that Hashem is here and everything is completely nullified before Hashem and that everything is of no significance before Hashem is the fact that we are able to be in a state of joy constantly because Hashem is constantly with us.